having a exterior grade window and door between the main house and the conservatory is really important, because the conservatory should never be joined into the rest of the building, because it does get very hot or it gets very cold, and it then affects the rest of the house. In this project, we've been visiting households across North Wales and looking at their homes and helping the residents to diagnose their houses and to understand how their houses work, and looking at how they can improve their houses, both in terms of energy efficiency but also in terms of more mundane issues like damp, maintenance, and just understanding how their houses can be used in a more constructive, more holistic and more sustainable manner. How best to say it? It's a little bit hit and miss.
I think I knew that.
This is, so basically what you've got here, you've got about just under or just over 100 mil of insulation here, but as you can see, some of it hasn't got any insulation, and if you look along there, there's quite a lot of areas there that doesn't have any insulation. With the toilet in there is a very simple solution called from Interflush. You just change the whole siphon unit inside.
Right, yeah.
And that turns it into a variable flush then. So it works when you put the handle down, it'll flush, and when you let go, it stops.
Okay, that's good.
So literally, you go have a wee, flush and let go,
yeah,
and it will use about a litre of water.
Just nice to have a third person to talk to. There's a lot of conflicting advice out there, but I think having him just come round and look round gradually, you can get a good feel for what's going on, and it's nice to see alternative point of view.
Warm air obviously rises, and you've got warm, moist air here, and effectively you've got, because of that lip there, you've got effectively a trap.
Yes.
At that level there, so you've got, you know, that's where the warm, moist air is going to sit, and because it's cold anyway, because it's very difficult to get insulation into that area.
Yeah.
This area here next to the outer part of the wall, because there's no insulation on this.
No, the pan that is basically stone. Yes, I mean some of it's a bit hollow because it's plaster.
So again, if you were doing that, you could fit insulation onto this quite easily.
Dry lining it?
No.
No. Right.
No, don't. We don't mention dry lining. What I would do on there, you can either do a hemp line.
All right.
The difference is between whether you actually have a house as a house or as a home. And if it's going to be your home, then it's worthwhile investing in the things that are important in a home, and that's comfort, and that comfort might come in a variety of formats. So to join the kitchen to this room and give yourself the view and to be able to enjoy that more, then that's more important. Worth something. It may not be worth value in the house as a house, but it's worth value to you socially in your home. You know inherently what it means to you and how much that's worth to you, and it's impossible for me to put a value on that. For you, making these sort of decisions as to how do I alter things around, what do I invest in, what don't I invest in, is it better just to move and go and get a home that I will stay in forever because it's perfect?
Got to be happy where you're living, haven't you?
What you find when you're dealing with householders is that despite the house being the biggest investment that they've made in their lives, that actually they have very little understanding about how buildings work, and that's particularly true of energy efficiency and damp issues. There's a couple of potential. Given that this side here looks a lot more solid wall than the front does, because the front was so regular, it looks as if it was like a fascia that had been put onto the house. Whereas obviously this side of the house is much more random, and what one would associate with North Wales really. This mortar here is a cement mortar, and cement was just starting to come in sort of 20s and 30s, but it's quite a weak mix. And the old mixes were a lot more breathable, i.e. they allowed moisture in and out. And when you put a cement mortar over that, it can lock moisture actually into the structure. So actually all these old houses should be repointed or rendered using lime, not cement. Any wind and rain hitting there, and obviously it's going to run down here, and if you've got the wind blowing in the wrong direction, it can easily get blown in those sorts of holes. And it's a simple job, it's just a case of stripping it off and putting a new bit of bead of silicone on. So it's not a big deal, but it actually can let in quite a lot of water. Maintenance is one of the key sort of things that people tend to miss out.
Yes, it's ongoing.
Because people tend to think, buy a house and you've got the house and everything's all well and good. But actually, there's an expense that goes along with that to make sure that it's doing what it was designed to do, how it was designed to do it. And when you're working with cement, which you have done obviously on the new build, then that's fine. But it does mean that where you've got the interaction between the new cement and the older walls, which are going to be lime or soil, etc., in there, you have to be a bit more careful there to make sure that there's that those cracks don't actually let any water into the main structure. Yeah,
it's been a very interesting, informative visit. There's so much to learn about trying to make a house eco-friendly and efficient. And having Peter here just gives you little pointers that you hadn't thought of before. We looked at the hydroelectricity project that we could do.
The basic calculations are very simple, because it's flow and height. So because this presumably is running all year, you're going to have no problem with flow rates, and then it's just down to height, and even from here down, that's going to be a good 30-metre drop, something like that. So with that sort of head and a reasonable flow, you'll get actually quite a lot of power out of that.
The assessment's been really good because I'm at the stage, I only moved into the house a year ago and I've got lots of big decisions to make about it. There's all sorts that I can do. It's a very flexible house, but there's some very big decisions about what I do in terms of the boiler, ventilation, insulation and all sorts, and the layout of the house. And Peter's been really helpful in clarifying a lot of the issues that I had in my head before starting this process.
We weren't absolutely sure what we were letting ourselves in for. We'd talked about things beforehand and realised there was one or two areas that we did need some advice on. Stone houses aren't sort of commonplace things, and somebody that knows about them a lot should be able to give us some advice.
It's good, isn't it? It's fun, isn't it? It's like being house detective.
We've found out what we can do to address the issues, and it really has been most useful.